The return of Ash. There are stories that do not begin at one point and do not end at another. Stories that circle, breathe, and return, as if they are made not just of time, but of something greater, something that refuses to vanish. This is one of them. My name is Daniel. And if you ask me what it means to lose someone, I would say that loss is a room where footsteps that no longer exist echo. But if you ask me what it means to encounter a soul again, I wouldn't have enough words. Especially when that soul returns in a small, warm, trembling body, with eyes that recognize you even before learning to see. This is the story of Ash, my best friend, and how he died, crossed over to the other side, and then came back to me, in flesh and blood, as a new puppy, ready to restart our life in this very existence. But before the return came the silence. And before the silence came the love. And now you will hear everything. Ash entered my life like almost everything that matters. By chance, I was 26, had a job that sucked my soul, and a house that seemed bigger than it actually was simply because it lacked life inside it. I found him on a sidewalk, trembling, dirty, with a stained paw that looked like it was dyed black ink. When I first picked him up, he was so light he felt like a thought. But when his eyes met mine, I felt something like a fitting, an impossible familiarity, as if I recognized something in him, or as if he recognized me. He had no name. But that night, while he slept on my stomach, exhausted, his fur radiating warmth, I whispered, "I'm going to call you Ash, Cinder, because you came from something that burned, but you still hold warmth." And he sighed, a long, deep sigh, as if agreeing. 13 years passed after that. 13 years of walks, impromptu dog birthday parties, conversations he answered with attentive eyes, trips where he put his head out the window as if breathing the world. Ash was my family, my home. And then the last winter arrived. Ash aged with a sad delicacy. The stained paw grew whiter, his eyes wetter and slower. His body, once strong, seemed to fight against time to stay there. The vet said he was too weak, that his heart had fought enough. But Ash never looked at me with goodbye. He looked with certainty. On his last night, when his body finally gave up, something extraordinary happened. He was lying on my lap, his breathing short, rhythmic like a broken piano. I was petting him between his ears, that spot that always made him close his eyes. When I felt the moment coming, I spoke, "If you can, come back to me one day, okay? It doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter when." Ash opened his eyes, deep, pitch black. And for a single instant, just one, I felt a warm wave crossing my chest, as if something shifted from inside him and entered me. It wasn't imagination, it wasn't grief, it was real, physical, alive. It was like touching a soul. Then he slowly exhaled, and his body finally rested. I cried for hours, maybe days. The house went silent. But on that last night, in that final exchange, Ash left something with me. A promise, an impression, an energetic signature so strong that even today, I don't know how to put it into words. It was as if he had said without speaking, "I'm coming back." And I, even without realizing it, believed him. The first few months were the worst. Coming home without being greeted by Ash was like entering a room that didn't want you. I'd catch myself opening the door slowly, hoping he'd come running, even knowing the truth. But then the signs began. On the 8th night after his passing, I heard footsteps in the hall, light steps, nails scratching the floor, exactly that unmistakable sound. I thought I was going crazy, but the sound repeated. When I turned on the light, the hall was empty, but the air was different, warmer, fuller. The next night, Ash's leash hanging on the wall swung by itself. There was no draft. Then came the couch, sinking in a specific spot, the same one where Ash had lain since he was a puppy. I ran my hand over the indentation and felt something warm. There were also the dreams, always similar. Ash ran toward me, but never arrived. It was like crossing water, but But in dream number 6, he stopped. He stared at me. And that same warm wave from the day of farewell ran through my chest. I woke up sweating, crying, with an electric sensation in my arms. That's when I became sure Ash hadn't left. Not yet. I met her by chance. Or maybe it wasn't chance. I was walking with Ash's leash in my hand, as I did on days when the longing was strongest, when a woman with long, almost silver white hair stopped me. "That one loved you very much," she said, looking at the leash dangling between my fingers. I froze. "Did you know my dog?" "No, but I know souls. And his is close to you, too close to have truly departed." Her name was Donna Helena. She had lived there for decades, and according to her, she saw things beyond. "Dogs don't cling to the body," she said, with a certainty that made me uncomfortable. "They cling to love. Love is the trace, and Ash is following yours. Is he," my voice trembled, "is he going to be okay?" She smiled like someone who knows too many secrets. "He's already looking for a new body." That went through me like an arrow. Reincarnation, is that it? You don't need to call it that. Think of it as a return, a continuation. He doesn't want to leave you alone. And if you allow it, he comes back. For real. I didn't know how to answer, but inside me, a part believed, and another part waited. After meeting Donna Helena, the signs became clearer. That same night, I dreamed of a field of golden light. Ash walked toward a spring. The water was too transparent, too bright. And when he put his paw in the water, his reflection disappeared, as if the mirror of life was being erased to be redrawn. In the second dream, he was a puppy again, small, trembling. And he ran toward me so fast he seemed to blur. But before touching my leg, he vanished. He only left warmth, as if he had passed through me. On the third night, something physical happened. I placed a candle on the living room floor. For no reason, no ritual. When I positioned Ash's old collar next to it, the flame tilted to the right, as if something invisible was sitting there, breathing. And the sensation came, as strong as it was on his last night. A small, electric, happy presence. It wasn't frightening. It was familiar. And an idea, almost a word, formed within me: tomorrow. I am not a medium. I am not a sensitive. But that night I slept with the strange and comforting feeling that something was about to happen. I woke up early the next day, without hunger, without purpose, but an almost physical force pushed me out of the house. It was like being pulled by an invisible thread. I walked to the corner, then 2 more. I didn't know where I was going until I heard a sound, a whimper, low, faint. Between 2 cars was a cardboard box stained with rain. I knelt slowly. I heard the breathing inside irregular but stubborn. When I opened the flap of the box, the world stopped. Inside was a tiny puppy, light brown, with dark spots on its paws and an unusual patch on his right ear, exactly where Ash had a scar when he was a puppy. He was trembling, but when he saw me, something happened. His eyes widened like someone rediscovering a forgotten but beloved face. When I touched him, the warm wave returned, the same one from the 2 mystical nights, the same one from Ash's farewell. It was like shaking the hand of someone you have held 1,000 times. And in that second, I knew. I didn't rationalize. I didn't compare. I just knew. It was him, Ash, coming back to me inside a new body, looking at me as if he had never left. I brought the puppy home wrapped in my shirt. He slept the whole way, but with one detail impossible to ignore. His chest rose and fell at the exact same rhythm Ash slept. I entered, closed the door, and stood there, looking at the small being breathing in my lap as if he were home for the second time. He woke up. He stumbled onto the floor. He walked to the middle of the room. And then the impossible happened. He ran straight to the couch. He jumped awkwardly and settled in the exact corner where Ash had slept for 13 years. Then he looked at me as if to say, "Why do you still doubt?" And he fell asleep. I had to sit down. My heart was racing, but not from fear. It was recognition. It was reunion. It was old love being reborn. On the third day with the puppy, I decided to test something. I grabbed a small blue bowl, the same one Ash loved to drink water from when he was young. I had never shown this to the puppy. I placed the bowl on the floor. The puppy was far away playing with a cloth. But when he heard the sound of the bowl hitting the floor, he stopped. He turned his head slowly and came running, like lightning, like Ash. He hit the floor with his chest, sliding a bit, and plunged his muzzle into the water with the same anxious haste Ash had when he was thirsty after playing. I sat on the floor and started crying, unable to stop. The puppy lifted his head, looked at me, and gave a unique bark, that small, short, almost muffled bark Ash gave when he wanted to say, "I'm here." It was impossible to be a coincidence. And in that exact instant, I was absolutely certain his soul had returned to me in the same life, in the same time, in the same love. I spent the night watching the puppy sleep. The streetlights cast stripes of light through the curtain, and he breathed slowly, his body warm and serene. Around 3 in the morning, he suddenly woke up. He sat up, he looked at me, and stared at me with an expression I can't explain. It wasn't animalistic. It was soul. It was consciousness. It was presence. I whispered, "Ash, is that you?" He lifted his ears, and then, with a movement impossible to ignore, he placed his little paw on my hand. Exactly as Ash used to do when he wanted me to stay close to him. I gasped. I bent over. "It is you," I said, crying, smiling. "You came back. My God, you came back to me." The puppy licked my hand and fell asleep again, as if he were finally home. As the weeks passed, the puppy began to show old traits. The habit of lying on my stomach, the fear of thunder, the habit of nudging his bowl when he wanted more water, the exact way he yawned, tilting his head to the side, the strange position of sleeping with all 4 paws up, and there was more. When I placed Ash's old collar on top of the shelf, he sat beneath it, and he didn't leave. For hours. He started sleeping there, to growl when someone came too close, just as Ash did. It wasn't just behavior, it was memory. Memory that doesn't belong to the body, but to the soul. And I understood every gesture, because my heart recognized every detail. 3 months passed when Dona Helena came to my door. She looked at the puppy in my arms and smiled. "He found the way," she said, gently touching his head. "I told you he would come." "There is nothing inside me saying this is crazy," I admitted. "Everything in me knows it's him." "Animals aren't afraid to cross worlds," she replied. "Only humans are. They return when they love. And Ash, he loved you more than he loved being. Is he himself?" I asked, almost stumbling over the words. "The essence, yes," she said. "The personality will come with time, but what matters is already there." The puppy looked at her with curious eyes and then hid his face in my neck. "See?" She laughed. "He remembers you, and only you." When she left, I stayed, watching the puppy fall asleep again in my arms. It was then I realized that life was giving me back something I thought I had lost forever, and I understood something greater. Ash hadn't come to restart. He had come to continue. The puppy grew, and the more he grew, the more Ash he became, but also the more he became himself. A new version, a reborn version. He had new fears, new habits, new desires, but the heart was the same. And the bond between us, inexplicably, seemed even stronger than before. In time, I discovered it wasn't just him who had returned. I had changed too. I had also been reborn in the process. Grief turned into gratitude. Pain turned into understanding. Loss turned into a path. And the path brought back my best friend. Today, as I write this story, Ash, or the new Ash, or simply Ash again, is sleeping at my feet. Sometimes, when he dreams, his paws move exactly as before, as if he's running through the same field of light from my old dreams. I look at him and understand something simple. Death is not the end. The soul does not break. Love does not end. Some connections are so strong that they defy worlds, times, lives. And when they ask how I know it's him, I smile. Because I don't need to prove it, I feel it. In my chest, in his breathing, in the reborn gestures, in the warmth of that eternal wave that crossed my heart with his last breath. Ash returned, not as a memory, not as a ghost, not as a sign, but as life, real life, physical life, reborn life. And now, we are together again, in this existence, in this house, in this love that chose to continue and will continue as far as the soul allows.